Hello, pup parents, and welcome to today's episode of the Perfect Pup Podcast. My name is Devin. I'm excited to be here with you for another episode. This one is important to me. It's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's really helped improve my relationship with my dogs and kind of just opened my eyes to how to more effectively communicate with our dogs, and that's trick training. We're going to talk about three ways, kind of three unexpected benefits, rather, that you'll get when you start doing trick training with your dog. So let's dive right into it. First things first, when I say trick training, there's a lot of kind of different things that you might be thinking of. It doesn't necessarily need to be your dog, jumping through hula hoops or something like that. That can be trick training, but it can be things that are a little simpler, like teaching your dog to shake or teaching your dog to spin or roll over or to bark on cue or whatever it might be. There's a whole wide variety of what trick training can be. And that's the beauty of it as well, is that it can be very simple, or you can, progress and turn it into something that's a little more complex and can be a real challenge, but can also be rewarding. So let me start with the first benefit that I've found when I've done trick training with my dogs. It's improved communication. Everything we do with our dogs, in one way, shape, or form, we are trying to communicate with them, and they're often trying to communicate back to us. And that is difficult because, unfortunately, dogs can't speak the same language as us. And it's difficult, it's challenging to try and convey information and or get your dog to do something when you don't speak the same language, generally speaking. And so I found when I've done trick training with my dogs, it does take a little bit of precision and it takes a little bit more focus, and it takes, I think, a little more kind of give and take between you and your dog, and understanding, kind of reading their signals and understanding if they're overwhelmed, or understanding if, they are picking things up and you can move quicker. So I've just found that as I do trick training with my dogs, it kind of opens up that communication between my dogs and myself, and just my ability to communicate them what I'm asking, what I'm wanting, and kind of getting on the same page with my dog. And that correlates to everything that you're going to do when it comes to the more behavioral side of training. Is, all of that is communication. And so if you can improve it in any way, you're get- it's going to pay dividends in other parts of your dog's life. And so it's important to always work on that. And I found that trick training really can kind of just expedite and make that your ability to communicate with your dog so much better. So that's the first thing I've noticed. The second benefit that I've seen, and I think one of the most important ones, is you have fun. And let me tell you, sometimes having a dog is not fun. There are things that will happen, whether you have a puppy or an older dog, that are going to drive you crazy and are going to make you want to pull your hair out and are going to be stressful. And it's important to find time throughout the day to do fun things with your dog, because some often, especially like during the week, you're busy, school, work, whatever it might be, kids, you get into this routine and you're just like, okay, we've just got to do the walk. We've just got to, get our dog exercise. Like, we got to just kind of becomes a checklist of things that we need to do for our dogs. And I get it. Like, that's normal. That's part of kind of life in general. But I've found that when you can do things that are more fun and more enjoyable, it kind of, not only does it break up that monotony of some of the things that we have to do when having a dog, but it also just it makes you remember kind of why you got a dog, if that makes sense. I know for some people, maybe you got a puppy or a dog and you're thinking it's really hard right now. Why did I even do this? Like, you'll have days, for sure you will, where you think, man, this is more work than I was expecting, or I don't know if I'm cut out for this, or a whole list of things that might go through your head. But I found that when you start doing trick training, it's going to force you to just have some fun with your dog, and that is so important. You really can't underestimate that value of just doing fun things with your dog that are going to make you just improve your bond, and again, break up kind of the sometimes monotony and scheduledness of, I don't know if that's a word, but like the scheduledness of having a dog. So you have fun, and that's important. Really, really is. The third benefit that I've seen is improved behavior. You might be thinking to yourself, well, how is teaching my dog to spin really going to help with their reactivity or their barking at the neighbors through the fence? And the short answer is it may not directly, if you teach your dog to spin, that doesn't mean that the next day they're not going to bark through the fence. But like I mentioned earlier in the idea of improving communication, as you get better at working with your dog, and trick training kind of forces you to do that. It forces you to really be meticulous and really to kind of hone in on your dog and just better understand them and how they are perceiving situations if they're getting overwhelmed, figuring out what works for them too. Just realizing, hey, maybe my dog is better suited to be rewarded with a ball or with a tug toy than treats in some situations. So that is what I mean when I say as you work on trick training and you keep going with it, you will see general improvements in your dog's behavior elsewhere, mainly because your dog is going to be more attuned and more used to that communication and listening to you and wanting to be a part of these training experiences that are happening. So again, it's not going to fix your problem behaviors overnight, but generally speaking, I've seen that as I do more trick training with my dogs, it allows me to kind of better pinpoint problem behaviors and how I can approach them by how I'm learning how to approach trick training. So, those are three things that I've experienced that I'm sure you can as well, or maybe already have. But let me just recap those. Number one, you're going to see improved communication as you work on trick training with your dog. Number two, you're going to have fun. And number three, you're going to see general improved behavior with your dog. So, I don't know about you, but those three things, they're fantastic benefits and they're important. All three of those things are going to, again, just make your life and your dog's life a little bit more enjoyable. So I hope that if you haven't already, I hope you start doing some trick training. I hope you will set out and find fun tricks to teach your dog. There are so many different tricks that you can teach your dog. Dogs are amazing creatures. They have the ability to learn things that sometimes you wouldn't even think feasible, but it's definitely possible. And if you are looking for resources on how to train your dog to do fun tricks, we do have two trick training courses as part of Pupford Academy. Those are both taught by Amber Akar, who has done amazing things with her dogs. Her dogs are very talented, and she built those two courses for us for trick training. And I believe it's 20 tricks per course. So if you get access to Pupford Academy, that's 40 different tricks that you're going to get step by step instructions with accompanying GIF images for how to teach your dog tricks, 40 different tricks that you can learn inside of Pupford Academy. So again, I hope you find this episode enjoyable. I hope it gives you a desire to go have some fun and just do some new tricks with your dog and have fun. Again, I know I've said this multiple times, but it is so important to, you know, not always get hung up on the challenging or the difficult or the problem behaviors. I'm using air quotes for those of you who are listening, the problem behaviors that our dogs have, and just have some fun with them and kind of get back to the basics. And trick training is such a great way to go about that. So thank you for listening. I truly appreciate it. If you have not left a review on Apple Podcasts specifically, please do. It's very helpful for this podcast for other people to be able to find it. Plus, I just appreciate it. And I read every single one of them. And if you have ideas, feedback, I look at all the reviews. So please let me know what you want to hear more about, or, certain guests you might want to see on, or whatever it might be. But other than that, we will catch you on the next episode.